Well, welcome back to part 2 of our week 2 of the sew along. I wanted to show you before I began on this next part. I mentioned that I used a little bitty iron. This is the one that I used. So this part here is the iron that you use, which is small enough to do a lot of these little nice pieces. You just have to be real careful not to burn yourself on that little iron. It gets pretty hot, but so that's what I was using before I discovered the Apple-Quick method of doing things. Okay, so now we are ready to start sewing our little sheep onto our quilt. And what I've done, you can use a window, a light box, whatever works for you. We have, we have covered up our pattern that we had drawn on the fabric up to this point, and again I'm lining up my barn and everything and make sure I have things back lined up the way I want them. And you can either use a pencil and trace where they go, but I find at this point I'm just going to press my fabric. I can see where I need to place this, so I'm going to put it here, and then that's where that part should be. That's lining up good there. Again, I can see that my line that's going to have the shrubbery here is going to go across, and the hills coming down here, so I'm well covered with. And again, this little part, this little V that we can see here, maybe you can see, let's move it up here. This little V in our pattern is the sheep too, and so I needed it to go past that, which I can see on my pattern it has done that as well past. Here's my point where I need it to be. So I'm going to take some pins and pin this one in place. This is piece number 11. I'm going to pin it in place here. So and again, I like these very, very fine pins. I don't have issues with them getting hung up even when I'm doing the hand sewing. The heads are so small too that and smooth that they do not seem to catch. I'm going to have to repin that one because, as you can see, one of the issues with these fine pins is they sometimes bend, and that will catch, so I'll repin that later. But right now I'm going to show you the other thing I wanted to put down. So I'm going to go ahead. I know I'm putting down piece number 13 before piece 12, which is the sheep head that goes on top, but I thought, well, while I'm doing this with my white thread, I'll just do it at the same time. So I can see this one goes over here and it lines up there, and bring it down this way, like so. And sometimes with a piece this small, instead of the pins, I'll use the glue stick, but I think I'm going to go with the pin this time. Just put a pin in place. So I've got those ready. I'm going to get some thread on my needle, and I'm going to, all I need to do is stitch around these sections. I don't have to worry about stitching these bottom pieces in place. So I'll get those started and then come back for the next step. So I've sewn on the two little sheep bodies here, and now I'm adding the heads. And I wanted to show you that if I pin these, you see that to get the pin in place there, it's going to stick way out over there. So what I do then is I do use the glue stick on these little bitty pieces, so I'll just put a dab of glue in the middle there and press it into place. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other ear. And then on this little piece 14, and put one in the middle and put on the ears. I'm trying to get the glue so it's not where I'm gonna, on the edges where I'm stitching. And then I can see where this one goes. Right here. And you can play with the placement a little bit so that if you have the amount of little white fluff up above his head that you want, and make sure it's all stuck in place there. And then I'll stitch those into place with some thread, and then we'll be ready for the next step.